Today's guest is a human resources professional who works at a 5-star resort in Pennsylvania. And so today we talk about that and his experience in that business and relating with clients and coworkers, and also his upbringing as a homeschooler and his love for sports and his love for his fiance. Hello and welcome to the Everyday Calling Podcast. My name is Guy Smith, and you're listening to the podcast where we have conversations with incredible but everyday people about their life and things that they love to do, how they discovered these things that they love to do, why it matters to them, why it matters to the world, and of course, why it matters to us today. My guest today is Joel Triponey. Joel, good to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Good to be here. Appreciate you bringing me on.
Okay. Happy to have you. Why don't we start with talking about a little bit of who you are? Where did you come from? Introduce us to who is Joel Triponey.
Well, the basic stuff. I was born and raised here in Punxsutawney. Pretty much did everything here. 23 years of my life. Did sports here, just grew up around here. Was homeschooled, but I did a lot of stuff on the Punxsutawney High School and stuff. And then just 6 months ago, I moved. I majored in human resources, and I had a master's in business administration. So I just moved 6 months ago over to Uniontown. I've been working in human resources as a recruiter for Nemacolin. That's been kind of my current career path and where I'm at right now.
Okay, Nemacolin. That sounds like a big deal.
It's nice. It's a pretty nice place. It's a bit of a hidden gem, kind of weird. Most people I talked to have never heard of it, and I never did either until I got the interview. I went up there, and I walked in, and I was like, this place is insane. So it's a 5-star resort. So it's got 3 hotels. It's a pretty luxury. It's a nice place. It's about 2,200 acres. It's a pretty big area, and we got a lot of employees, so they're always looking for recruiters, places that they need to fill up with positions, but it's been awesome for the last 6 months so far. So I'm just excited to be continuing to do it.
That's awesome. I want to talk about Nemacolin a little bit, but
sure.
First, before we do that, because Nemacolin, I've never been there. I've heard pieces about it. I have some family that have been there, and friends. But before we do that, why business administration? But why human resources? What piqued your interest there? What took you into that?
Well, the simple answer is it just sounded fun. I was in school, and I think I switched majors about 3 times. I started out in communications. I hated it. And then I switched over to dietetics because what I realized is I like helping people, but dietetics was a bit too sciencey, a little bit too complicated for me. And then when I was taking that course, I just took a basic intro to human resources course while I was in school. And that was my second semester of my sophomore year. And when I found that, I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. That sounds really enjoyable, really fun. So then I switched majors over to that, and it was like it clicked. Everything in school was more enjoyable. I found my path a little better doing that. And it was just basically the simple term of why I chose human resources, because I enjoy helping people. I know you just talked to Mackenzie, she's my fiance, about psychology. It's basically in a layman's term, it's the psychology of business. So I enjoy helping people and working with people. And interestingly enough, other than people that major in business and human resources, the most common major of human resources professionals are psychology majors. So it's basically like the business form of understanding the mental processes of business, helping people, making sure they're properly doing their job. Basically that's what human resources is there for, is to be like that on-site business therapist in a way, where they're there to make sure they're doing their job to the best of their abilities, and we're doing the best we can to make sure they're doing it to the best of their abilities. So that's kind of why I fell in love with human resources, because I'm not a therapist, but I enjoy helping people and seeing them shine. That's why I really enjoy doing human resources.
And Nemacolin has over 1,000 employees, right?
In their peak season, so in summer, usually it's between like 1,000 to 1,200 employees. Right now, we're probably going to the winter, it's more of an off season. There's less need for employees. There's a lot of seasonal work we need in like summers and stuff. But right now we're probably more like 800 and 900, but still a lot of employees. Yeah.
Okay. So do you work with the employees or just with the hiring?
I mostly just do the recruiting, but it's interesting because when you hear about a resort that big, you'd think the human resources team is like super complicated and complex, and there's like one thing for each thing, but really everybody in human resources kind of helps out with everything.
Okay.
So I do, my main job title is to do the hiring, is to bring people on site, talk with them about their goals and if they'd be a good fit for the position, and be the one that hires them and onboards them. But I've also had a few moments where I've had to sit down with some of my hires and have like HR conversations about, what they're doing well, as well as about like their performance and if they need help or anything. I also have done that a lot too. That's what I'm more interested in. I'd like to grow from my recruiting position more to employee relations because I enjoy that a lot. That's what my favorite part so far about my job is I've had those moments where I hire someone and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm so glad to be here." And then I run into them in the hall 2 weeks later and they're like, I actually had one recently, I think a couple of weeks ago. I ran into her in the morning and she looked at me and she was like, "Guess what I'm doing today?" And I was like, "What are you doing today?" And she was like, "I'm going out on my own. I don't have supervision today. I'm so proud of myself." And I was like, that was a really cool interaction. And I was like fist bumping her. I was like, "That's awesome. Super glad." I've had a few moments where I've had to talk to someone because she was struggling in her job and I had to talk with her too about that. But we do a lot pretty much everywhere in human resources, especially.
So it's the people aspect that you love about it.
Yeah. And
those relationships and even hire, like you had to learn a lot about how people's minds work, like different personality types are going to fit into different kinds of jobs. So when you sit down and you interview somebody, you have to, like, you're actually figuring out what makes them tick.
Yeah.
And trying to predict if they're going to be a good employee or a good fit in that position, or if they're going to make it or not, all those things.
That's a big thing we actually focus on, especially we have goals every quarter of the year. So starting this quarter, it began September through September, October, November. The last quarter of the year, our focus was to reduce our turnover, which is our 90-day turnover, which is basically how many people we hire leave the job before they've reached 90 days of employment. So our goal has been to reduce that because it's been kind of high. Because it's a big resort, lots of employees, we tend to have a high turnover. So our goal has been to reduce that. So like a focus from our manager and our head of human resources is when you talk to them over the phone and screen them, the first instinct needs to be in your head is, would you hire them to represent yourself? Because you want to make sure that they, like, when you talk to them over the phone, do you think they'll last? Do you think they'll actually stick around? So that's been something we have to really focus on. I'll be talking to someone over the phone and they'll say something really inappropriate. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to hire this person. I don't want him to be here and then end up reducing our turnover and increasing our turnover and making everything kind of bad for the rest of the employees too. That's always an issue, is like you don't want to bring someone into the department that's going to like upset the rest of the employees that are hard workers and are giving their all too.
And you have to protect the culture. And so you want to know if that person's going to be, if they're going to fit the culture and if they're going to kind of be a bad egg in the mix and all that. That's probably a skill that takes some time. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not obvious. Like,
yeah.
I could have used you a couple summers ago. We were at the church. We were looking for a youth pastor. And I talked to a guy from another state, and I'm hiring pastors. So you expect certain things, right or wrong or otherwise, maybe just in general. But I talked to this one guy for like 45 minutes on the phone about why he wanted to come to another church. And in the midst of that conversation, he talked about going to bars. He talked about drinking alcohol on the back deck with the senior pastor of his church, and he cussed a time or two. And I just thought, hey, maybe this works in your state, but that's not going to jive where we live. And so I like what you're saying. It's exactly that. It's am I going to be okay with this person representing me or Nemacolin? And that's a really cool way to look at it, because you by hiring them, you're giving them your stamp of approval, and you're essentially then you're asking Nemacolin as an organization to give that stamp of approval because they're gonna, they're gonna go everywhere at work and in life and say, I work at Nemacolin.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want that person to put their best foot forward for you.
Yeah. That's a big part of it is just, basically the position I'm in, I bring them on site. It's not my final say to hire them. I bring them on site and I hire for different departments and there's a manager of that department. They'll sit down and interview them, but basically between the two of us, it's our decision to hire that person. So it has to be a collective decision where you're like, that person wants to hire him, but I'm like, are you sure? And I had that moment once where I was really iffy about a guy, but the department's just really looking for help. So they kind of just take anybody that walks through the door for an interview.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really don't know if this guy's going to last, if he's going to be a good fit. And I was talking to them. I was like, are you sure this is a good fit for them? And they're like, let's hire him. Let's do it. And I was like, let's sit on it for a couple of days. Let's think about it. And we didn't end up going forward with it because we just didn't feel like it was going to be the right fit. But that's something you got to make sure you do is if you hire that person, he is representing you and you want to make sure that you're making the right choice for yourself and the company. And in your case, if you're hiring that pastor, he's representing your church. So you want to make sure that it's somebody that's going to...
In the conservative corners of rural America, youth pastors cannot hang out in bars.
Right.
It does not work. It does not work. And so you kind of, you have to have a backbone, don't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to be pretty firm on it, It's tough sometimes with some of the managers because they're the boss of that department. You're talking to them, you got to be like, you got to stand up to them sometimes because it's like they want to hire them, but you're like, just not sure about it because they don't really think about the negative aspects of the human resources side of it, and they're just looking to fill some seats because they need to get people in there. And we don't really run into that too much here at Nemacolin because most of our managers they're kind of picky too. So that's what you want to be is picky, but yeah, you definitely have to have a backbone for it for sure.
Because you have to stand up to both the potential employee and to your manager in that process. Mm-hmm. So you have to have that backbone, but you also like there has to be probably like a level of grace and mercy because you're going to also have people. I mean, maybe you can tell me a story about some of these people that you've interviewed that are maybe not quite there, not quite like, I think there's potential here, but I know you're not going to walk in and be an all-star employee, but we're going to give you a chance. Do you run into times like that? Me
personally, I haven't really run into anybody where I've taken a chance on them. It's not me personally, but I've had a couple of people on our recruiting team that we've run into that where it's like they're all-stars in just about every way. We had one where he was an absolute all-star. He had a great personality. He was hilarious. But his background came back with a couple of things we were like pretty iffy on, and we were like, maybe we shouldn't go forward, but everyone loved him. So we called him and we're like, our recruiter made the offer. We're like, your background came back, this stuff here, we're a little iffy on that, but we want to take the chance on you and let you know that because we think you're a good fit for this. We're going to take the chance on you and see how it goes. And he was like, awesome, thank you.
How's he doing?
The bad story of that is he didn't work out.
Okay.
But that's an example of taking a chance on somebody, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes it does, where you take a chance and they are good. Because I've had a couple where like there were a couple things prior to like offering it where we were like maybe not. One guy, he was a little weird. He was just like he's just a little weird before the interview, but he was really innocent and really like hardworking. We could tell, and we offered it to him, and he's been doing really well. He's in a department I'm really close with the person he's working directly with, so I'm always like checking him, like, how's he doing today? How's he doing? Is he causing anything? And they're like, no, he's doing great. So there's a lot of times where, you take a chance because you follow your gut too. Just if your gut tells you you want him here, then you might as well do it, even if there's something that might make you want to hesitate as well.
Yeah, like you check the boxes, but then you follow your gut on this person, on their story, their personality, their hopes, because you probably interview a lot of people who are kind of maybe getting like, are you, I guess it's a question. Like, are you interviewing people that are maybe fresh out of high school or fresh out of college or training at a VOTech or something like that? Or are you hiring comparatively to people who are maybe getting back on their feet?
Yeah, it's actually kind of the two. It's kind of both of those. because I mostly hire entry level, like kind of line level for the company. So it's more so like the positions I hire for, it's people working their way up. So yeah, I have a few positions that are a little bit higher level that I'll hire for, but it's really the entry level. So a lot of people I'm hiring are fresh out of high school or like early, like still in college, looking for a job while they're working in college. So I have hired mostly more like young, like 18, early 20s. And I've hired a few that are like trying to get back on their feet. I hired one. She's amazing. That's the one that was telling me how proud she was to be starting and like to be doing all this stuff. And she was, I think, like 30s. She quit because she became a mom and she wanted to focus on being a mom. But she, like, her daughter had grown up a little bit and now it was ready for her to go back into work. And she saw this opportunity and she was like, I really want to work here to work my way up and kind of get back on my footing again as I'm transitioning out of being a mom now, like, and working full time while balancing being a mom. So yeah, it's kind of a mixture of those two, like the big ones I run into.
So you really get to. So would you say that that's what you love most about what you do is the people aspect of giving people opportunities to make the best of themselves, to make a living for their family, all that? Like you really, it seems to me like you enjoy that kind of that humanness, that human aspect of it.
Yeah, the human part of human resources is definitely my favorite part. Like I said, it's even in recruiting, like that's more of the like in a way it's more of the mundane part, people might say, where it's like you're really just hiring. It's not, you're not doing the employee relations like other people might, where you're sitting down talking about their emotions and stuff. But really, even in recruiting, it's like it's so rewarding to hire somebody, see them thriving, and then see them like really like thankful to be here and stuff. Because we do that. Even something, a huge focus in Nemacolin is, I mean, I can only say good things about the way they treat their associates. So I'll try not to talk it too much up or anything. But it really is a great place to work. And it's one of the best parts about being there is we focus on the associates really hard. So it's like in human resources, when we hire somebody, we have a responsibility basically to anytime they hit a milestone in like days worked. So when they hit like their 50 days and like their 90 days, we have a responsibility to sit down, basically just have a face-to-face like interview in a way, basically to talk about how things have been going, to make sure they don't like, you know, if they're struggling anywhere, if they need help anywhere, or if they're just like loving it, well, we can like, if we're doing really well, or like how they've just enjoyed their experience. That's one of the most awesome parts about being there, is being able to like meet up again, constantly check in with your hires that are like doing really well and like still sticking around and enjoying working there.
Yeah. And so you're learning from great management that's built an awesome culture. So makes it a fun place to work.
Yeah, and we call it. That's another thing, is they like using language that's more like positive to the associates. So we actually don't call managers or bosses or anything like that. We call them leaders. Okay. So I'm in a leadership role there. My boss, she's in a leadership role there. And that's basically to make it seem like we're not your superior. We're just someone to help you grow as an associate. And that's the awesome part about being there, is they really seem to focus a lot on the associates and how they're doing. That's all the human resources team all around. You know, one of my favorite guys there, he's our employee relations guy. He's amazing. He's one of my favorite guys there. He goes to church. We actually play basketball every week together. He's amazing. And he basically just walks around the resort every day or weekly and just basically just talks to everybody. To just anytime he sees a face, he knows their name. He reaches out to them. With 1,100 employees, that's hard to do. But he'll see somebody's face and he'll know their name by memory, and then he'll like talk to them about their life, how things have been going, or if he knows something about their family, like how's your family doing. It's cool, and that's what, like, when I see that, that's what I like inspires me, is seeing that and wanting to kind of base my profession and my career off of like what they're doing too.
Just like expressing how much you actually care and love these people, and you get to make a positive impact on their life just by saying hi to them on the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really cool thing. So Nemacolin is a 5-star ritzy, have your own airstrip, helicopter landing pad kind of place, right? Like this is the richest of the rich, kind of, or maybe one level below that. But you got super rich people coming to this place. Yeah. Like I looked it up one time and I'm like, okay, maybe not. So my question is, I don't need to talk a whole bunch about Nemacolin. I don't know how much they'd care for too much of that.
They're not. I mean, as long as it's good things. I have no
Oh.
negative things to say, obviously, but I mean,
Good.
I'm sure they love the positive press. I mean, anybody watches us that needs a job, I can help you get a job.
Farmington, Pennsylvania.
Farmington, Pennsylvania. It's only 2.5 hours away from here, so. But yeah.
So, did you grow up rich?
I don't think so. I mean, my parents they're well off. So, I mean, I grew up in a family where it wasn't like ever worried if I'm going to have a food on the plate that day. Like, they were doing very well. My dad has always taken great care of us, and he makes, enough money to be able to take care of our family. We have a nice house and stuff like that. So I've always grown up, maybe not like in the rich luxury where it's like, on my 16th birthday, my dad bought me a Ferrari. Like, they didn't do that, but he would, if I wanted like a new video game console, he would usually get it to me with like a caveat of having to be like do some chores around the house or something. So like it was always like I'd had the things I wanted, and it was I was raised really well, but I wasn't like born into riches and had a bunch of like really expensive things. But yeah, I definitely had whatever I would really need.
But at least at least upper middle class, at least for where you live.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So upper middle class is probably a good way to put it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was the reason I ask that is, was there? Do you have any client interaction, and was it challenging for you to step into a place where a lot of the guests are super well? I know they're not all super wealthy, but like
they all are.
They all okay. Has that been difficult?
It was difficult to start out. I'll give a brief overview. It's a fully private luxury resort. So, I mean, we have 3 hotels. One of them's 3 stars. The other 2 are 4 and 5 stars. So it's pretty luxury. I mean, the lower end one, like you can get away. It's like, it's a little cheaper. You can get away with like a couple nights, like a middle class family could probably do. But like otherwise.
How much a night are we talking?
The 3 star was, they're actually renovating it now. So it's about to go up a lot. But the 3 star was like usually like $500 a night. So it was, like you could definitely, middle class, like do some of that. But then as, the higher ones get up, it gets more into the thousands. So it definitely it's an expensive place to stay. It's fully private, and they basically went private. There's a big focus on like the high end clientele, because sometimes there were celebrities, going there and stuff. And so the big part of it was making sure that the privacy of it is because a lot of those higher end clientele are going there to get away. We've had like football players, NFL players actually come there and over the summer to golf, because we're pretty well known for our golf and like our spa. So like celebrities will go there for the spa, and some will go there to golf. And so like a lot of the NFL players, we've actually had a couple in the last over 3 or 4 months that have gone there, kind of to golf and basically be like to get away. So it's like private. So basically that's why we went private, is to focus on the guests that are staying there, and so that they're not like being invaded. And it's like we're a fully public resort now. If one fan hears about Josh Allen being there over the summer golfing, that fan's going to try to get there, and then all of a sudden there's tons of people trying to get in the resort to go swarm Josh Allen for autographs when he just wanted to go there to have a weekend away to golf. So
I do like the Bills more than your shirt.
Yeah. Well.
Your Baltimore Ravens shirt. I would definitely favor the Bills over that. So Josh Allen, I can get behind.
Yeah.
So like, but they go there, and you're not like, as an employee, you have to check yourself. Like you can't, if Ray Lewis comes walking in, you're not allowed to like run over and hug him and beg for autographs, because that would be unprofessional, because he's there for privacy.
Mm-hmm. The rule is basically if any celebrity comes on the resort, we're not allowed to like approach them any way differently than we would like a famous guest. We're supposed to just treat them the same way. And if we ask for like, we're not allowed to ask for autographs or pictures or be like anything like that. We're just supposed to be like courteous like we are with the rest of the guests, and just say like, how can I help you, or like stuff like that. But it was difficult for a little bit to adjust, but now I think I've gotten pretty used to it. But it was hard at first to be like, every time I saw a guest, big smile, hello. If I ask if they need anything, help with anything, knowing that it's all these high class people, making sure that like I maintain that like really professional attitude. I definitely struggled with it for the first couple of months, and
I would say most of us would.
The training there and everybody like really taking me under their wing helped me to grow out of that. And going into working there, I was really not a super outgoing and confident guy. But now it's like, if I see a person walking by, like outside of work now, it's hard for me not to smile and be like, hello, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And knowing that that's not what I need to do outside of work. But like now I'm really used to, like I'm a lot more outgoing now. They kind of got me out of my shell in a way, which is really cool
Good.
too, because it got me out of my shell, making sure that I'm really social and like kind and, just approachable is I guess is the best way to describe it too.
Yeah. So is that I understand you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
So that, how did that play into that shyness, that process? Is that?
It pretty much almost entirely played into all of my social personality going through college. So, I was homeschooled pretty much my entire life until I went to college. I went to IUP. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So all the way up until then, I was homeschooled. So basically, it was just me and my mom. My mom was my teacher. And we would do some online classes. Like it wasn't fully.
And your siblings, right? You had.
Yeah, until they all graduated, I did some school with all my brothers as well. My one brother, he went to public school because he made maybe the right decision and got away from it, and so he can get some social skills. But
And your mom was okay with that?
yeah, she completely supported anything. She wanted us to make the decision, but we were all like, homeschooling sounds great, and it was really good. It was nice. It was forgiving because it wasn't like get up at 8 a.m. You can't leave till 3 p.m. We really just had to get our schoolwork done and we were done, so we could be done by 12. So it was really good, especially for my older brother. He's a big sports guy, so he played in high school. He played high school basketball for Punxsutawney. So for him, he mostly wanted to be homeschooled so he could basically be done and then the rest of the day take shots outside
Okay.
and practice. He would take like 500 shots a day, 500 to maybe even more. But so that's why we liked being homeschooled, is we had that free time. But a part of the problem, especially for me, was that I didn't take advantage of that and use it to build social skills and friendships. So I didn't have a ton of friends in high school or growing up, and it made me really, really shy. And I played soccer in high school, and my coach, he was awesome, but he would make fun of me for being really quiet. And anytime I would actually start getting outgoing in the goal, and because I was a goalkeeper, and I would make call outs and be really communicative, he'd be like, I'm really impressed today. You're actually talking and stuff. And I was like, thanks. So I was really, really shy in high school, and then in college I started to get on my shell a little bit. And that was also thanks to my best friend. He's the most outgoing person in the entire world. And he got me a little bit on my shell in college and got me to meet some friends because we lived together pretty much all of college. So he got me on my shell a lot, and I made some friends, and that made me a little bit more social. And then even then I was still pretty shy going into my outside of college professional life until I found my human resources career, and then got to Nemacolin, and they really, really developed me into a social, confident person. I've always struggled a little bit with confidence and thinking I'm capable of this, and then now that I've worked in Nemacolin for a little bit and I've gotten really outgoing, I've felt a lot more confident too. That's also thanks a little bit to just meeting people in my life that are really important to me. I'm getting married soon. Mackenzie really helped me grow a lot and become more social and outgoing and confident. She introduced me to One Life in church too, which helped me grow a lot too there. But definitely my professional life and college and those years helped me a lot from developing from being homeschooled, because being homeschooled made me a little bit shyer and timid, but I really enjoyed doing it. But it was just it was tough on my social life, especially. But
even with the homeschooling, you were able to play soccer for the local high school and start in goalie for how many years? Your senior year or before that too?
I started for 3 years. My freshman year was mostly the typical red shirt year, where you sit on the bench and watch the senior play and kind of develop. But then my sophomore year, I started in goal for all 3 years. We did a little bit in sophomore. I rotated a little bit, but then junior and senior year, I was mostly full-time starting goalie unless we were winning or losing by a lot. And he'd be like, let's pull you in, put you on the field and let you have a little fun out there. But yeah, it's mostly,
okay.
Yeah, I was pretty much the starting goalie for most of my high school years.
Okay, so soccer's your favorite sport to play?
Yeah, well, no.
No?
So it was the one I was best at.
Okay.
It just came the most naturally because I'm a lanky 6'2" dude. So
Yeah.
It was easy to pick up soccer and be good in goal because I had the ability and awareness to just be good at that sport. My favorite one to play has always been basketball, and I really loved it going into high school, and it was tough to drop it going into high school, but I wasn't really a huge fan of the environment of the high school basketball team at that time, so it made me not want to journey into that. So I just decided to drop it entirely and pick up soccer full time. But basketball was always my favorite to play. I'm a complicated sports guy, so soccer is the one I was best at, so I did it because it was enjoyable and got me out and got me a little bit more social. Basketball was always my favorite one to play, and now my favorite one to watch is football. But so I'm all over the place with sports. But
yeah, I would agree that football is the most fun to watch. I always think hockey's one of the most fun to play. I do basketball, but basketball when I try to play basketball, I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Like everybody's running plays and picks, and I'm just like, can I just stand on the block and wait for rebounds?
Yeah, that's what I do because I'm tall, so I just stand there and pick rebounds the whole day.
Yeah, but sports really was the thing that helped you come out of your shell, because is soccer also where you made most of your best friends?
Yeah, pretty much. My best friend, we played in soccer. That is pretty much how we met. We played soccer in middle school, and then going into high school, we played. So we really developed a bond there, and then it grew a lot because of college. We were close in high school, and he was always like at my birthday parties and stuff. And then in college was when we really grew, because we lived right by each other, and then we were roommates for our last year of college, and that's where we grew a lot. Yeah, and a lot of my other friends were through sports and through church and stuff like that. A couple of my other friends, college, and then like mutual friends too. But yeah, a lot of sports really helped that a lot.
Sports are like that. Sports are valuable in a lot of ways for, relationships, making friends, just learning discipline, learning how to train, and and so you did that on top of the homeschooling, which I love the flexibility of homeschooling.
Yeah.
Academically, I hear all the time that if homeschooling is done well or done right, a homeschooler is academically advanced. Would you say that was that a selling point for employers when you started looking for work after college? Did that play in at all?
No, not really. I mean,
it never came up.
To be honest, I would avoid telling them I was homeschooled. I would kind of hide it. Most of the time, and especially out of college, they don't really care about your high school.
Is it because of fear of them thinking you're going to be socially awkward?
Yeah, I think some of that, but also just I think for me, it was an insecurity of they might think I'm not very smart, because I actually didn't know that until you told me that maybe it was like, I've done well, you're academically
I don't know if
better, but I don't know.
I don't know that that's across the board, because a lot of people homeschool in various ways and various types of families and various curriculums. But I do hear that frequently, that homeschoolers are able to you're able to advance academically quicker because you can focus. There's a lot of you said 8 to 3 in school. There's a lot of fluff in that time. Mm-hmm. A lot of social things going on, a lot of extracurricular classes, whereas if you get a really good homeschooling curriculum and your mom can just drill down on that, you can cover your reading, writing, and arithmetic really well.
Yeah, but in terms of employment, I mostly just employers don't really pay too much attention to your high school education unless you don't have any other education. They might ask about it, but if you have a college degree, they don't really care what you did in high school. I
always felt that way too with the college degree. Is unless you're getting something super specific, like I went to school to be a brain surgeon, so I'm not going to apply to be a brain surgeon if I went to school to be business administration. Unless it's something. But if you just have but there's so many jobs that they're just I just want to know you finished. Do you have a high school diploma? Do you have a college degree? Unless you're getting into something real specific with medical mostly or legal, things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of these employers are just okay, you finished, good.
Yeah, they don't really focus on that. And I think even with my job now, I don't even think my degree really played a huge part in it. I think Nemacolin just looks for certain personalities, and I think I matched that. But to an extent, I think the only thing they probably looked at on my resume was that I was going for my MBA at the time. Right. I finished it now, but I was still going at that point. So that's probably the only thing they looked at on my resume, other than just my personality, was that maybe that MBA. Otherwise, they don't really focus too much, unless, like you said, you're going for brain surgery or you want to be a doctor, they're gonna want to make sure you have the certifications. So, but otherwise, I didn't really put much of that on there. I think it was mostly.
It's more like it's more like about being a motivated person. Like they want to know that you're ambitious. They want to know that you've got drive, and that and that you have this and the heart to do the job, because they're gonna train you to do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. And a big phrase you hear around Nemacolin is hire for talent, train for skill. So they don't even really focus on the person that has the experience. They focus on the person that could.
I love that.
Be developed into that.
Yeah.
So we don't even look like, when I hire for positions, we don't look like, I hire for our landscaping a lot. So I don't necessarily look for somebody who has years of like contracting experience or like landscaping or anything like that. I just look for somebody who fits the bill. And a lot of the people I hire for that position are like, gritty dudes who like to be outside and lift stuff all day.
Yeah.
So we're not looking for somebody that might have the experience. We just know that they have the talent for it, and then we can train them for the rest. And I think that's even what they did for me. I think in a way, they took a chance on me. I think they
for sure
looked at me and said, he probably has the ability to develop those skills. It looks like he has the talent. So we want to bring him on to make sure we're fitting. Mostly what they look for is the person that's going to fit that culture rather than just the bare bones skill part of it.
Yeah, they're looking at the whole person, not just what you look like on paper.
Yeah.
I know I graduated high school or college with a bachelor's in marketing, and I had a friend of mine who was graduating with the same degree, and it was like the last week before graduation, and he goes, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I learned how to do anything.
Yeah.
So we had this conversation about how we learned a lot of theory, we learned a lot of business, we learned a lot of kind of like a psychology approach to business, and marketing is kind of like the science side. And so, but when it comes to actually working for a company, you're still going to learn when you get there.
Yeah, that's what I took out of my degree too. I don't think, even my master's, I think to an extent, I learned stuff, but I think most of my ability to work now, I learned once I started at Nemacolin. I don't think my degree is mostly just to get a minor amount of education in it, but I really don't feel like I took a whole lot, especially out of my bachelor's. I don't think I took a whole lot out of it. I just kind of learned a little bit about it, and so that way they'll look at that on paper and go, okay, he has some of the qualifications, let's train him for it. My master's, a little bit more, I took some things away, and it made me a little bit better prepared to be like a human resources professional, but most of it I think I learned on the job, and I think that's how a lot of jobs work, especially if you're not going for something super high level. But obviously I wouldn't want to hire someone to do like really, really high level degree required type of experience. I wouldn't want to hire someone like that without the degree, but something like mine, it's a lot of just learning it when you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's 4 years and $100,000 of theory to go and learn how to work somewhere else anyway. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely your launching pad. It's a great thing. Switching gears a little bit. So we had a conversation with your fiance Mackenzie. You've brought her up a couple times. And what has it been like? So you talked about her kind of helping bring you out of your shell, but then being kind of a part of that process. But what has it been like in terms of learning how to? This probably helps you in your job too. You had to learn how to support her through pain, support her through loss. I know you guys were engaged whenever she went through kind of some stages of grief and things like that. What's that kind of journey been like? And how's that play into just who you are?
Well, I think just as a whole, that's a part of why I went for human resources. I do think I was kind of always good at listening to people and making sure I could listen to someone's issues before I just speak up. I think I do have a bit of an issue of always trying to be well, let's hear about your problems so I can fix them immediately. I do that maybe a little too much, but
that's men. We're fixers. Yeah, right? That's what we do.
When she has an issue, sometimes she doesn't want to talk about it. And I'm well, I want to fix it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not as simple as that, but really, it's helped me a lot as a person too, just to be with her. She's helped me grow and be, like just more understanding and be able to focus on people, and, you know, just like being with her when she's gone through some struggles. Like, I'm always trying to make sure I'm there. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm listening. I'm always making sure that I help her to the best of my ability. And if she needs something, I'll get her something and help her to, you know, recover from it to the best of my ability, even if it might be something that will take a little bit of time too. So it's definitely helped me grow a lot.
Yeah, and it all overlays into what you do every day, and then in your relationship with her.
Yeah.
So you're getting married. I don't know if this podcast will go. Today's November 27th. I'm not sure if this will be published before or after you're married. But what are you most looking forward to about getting married? 'Cause how old are you?
How old am I? I'm 23.
I'm gonna plead the fifth. Can I have
next question.
Can I have a phone call?
Yeah, let me phone a friend. I'm 23. Turned 23 in June, but
so that's getting married young in today's day and age. And
yeah.
In the olden days, you should have already been married for 10 years and had 6 kids. But nowadays, not very many.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, and it's always been like, I understand that viewpoint, but for me, I've always thought it was a little silly, because I was like, for me, it was maybe about a year. I mean, probably less than that, honestly, but maybe about a year into our relationship, I was pretty much, absolutely, I know I want to marry this person. I know it sounds corny to some people, but it's like, when you know, and so it'd be silly for me to sit here and be like, I know I want to marry her, but the social requirement is to wait 3 more years. I don't
think most people wait on purpose. They're just kind of busy doing their life.
That's why for me, it was like, there's no reason to wait, because I know I want to marry this person. So it's like, otherwise, if I wait, it's just because that's me filling the social agenda, which is to wait longer because you're too young and you're too, So for me, I was like, no, I want to marry her. So I just did. I didn't really care too much about the expectations and stuff, because I don't know. When you know. So I was like, I don't think there's any reason to doubt this, because there really was no doubts for me. So yeah, it was a pretty easy decision for me.
I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy if in the right situation. Obviously, every situation is unique, and you can't really make predictions. But when you're in a situation like what you guys are describing, and in kind of when and everything is lining up so well, where it just seems so right. Like, I think in a healthy relationship, getting married young is awesome, and I think it gives you so much. It gives you that home base, gives you a confidence to kind of go at life together.
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say too. As a big perk of it, we've both said it, is it feels like getting married young basically gives you that perk of, you get to experience marriage through your early 20s. And you get to enjoy one of the most exciting parts of your life with the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with too. So that's really exciting for us. I think that's honestly what I'm most excited for, is just getting to spend the rest of my life with her, and being able to, bring her over with me to Uniontown, where I'm living now, and just like kind of grow up in our early 20s and learn the rest of our early adult life together, and kind of experience that, and then just, living together, being a family, and just experiencing everything else together too.
I think when you think about, you look at these people who, if it's an intentional decision to say, I'm not getting married until my early 30s, I feel like the 20s is it's like kind of scatterbrained, and you're always trying to figure out who you are, kind of find your place in the world. And you're going to do that a little bit anyway, but there's it's so much more stable to get to do that with a spouse. Yeah. That in a relationship that is going to be my forever relationship, and you're making that marriage commitment.
Yeah. Especially now, because I don't live around here anymore. I live about 2 hours away. And
from
she's
both, like 2.5 hours from both of your hometowns, from both of your parents.
So and right now she's obviously not living with me quite yet. So it's been like now, especially it's like, I just want to marry her so that she can be there, because I know, I'm just ready to be married and have her over there, and we can do all this stuff together. And because right now I'm just about almost every weekend I'm driving back here to visit her and visit my family as well. So it's really exciting to finally know that in about 2 weeks she's going to be there, and we're going to be able to start that next chapter of our lives together.
So like the 6-month period has been, it's probably been kind of long and hard, but also kind of when you look back, you're like, I can't believe we're here.
Yeah, the last 6 months, it's been really weird, because the last 6 months went by possibly the fastest of our entire engagement so far. I think Mackenzie could probably agree, because we were sitting there the other day being like, this is insane. It's only 2 weeks now. But also the last 6 months were probably the hardest 6 months. So it was a really weird mixture, because it's like it went by so fast, because I had a really exciting change in my life, learning, getting this new job. It was really stressful because the first time I moved away and she's not there with me yet, making this long distance thing kind of work a little better. And then at the same time, it was like, because of all of those factors, it was like it went by so fast, but for all good reasons. Like I'm glad it went by fast, so I wasn't, didn't feel like the last 6 months were dragging, but it was also like really difficult too.
Yeah, and you get to build your life together. And so it's a beautiful thing. And so I'm glad that you guys have been doing, kind of doing it well, doing it right. And it's such a healthy thing to see. Mm-hmm. And so with a name like Triponey, you're probably going to have triplets. Have you guys discussed the odds of having triplets with a name like Triponey?
I don't know the odds of triplets in general. So.
Probably.
We'll have to discuss the kids part first. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll take it step by step right now. We just need to focus on getting married and getting her down the Nemacolin with you.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what are some other things that you love to do or love to hate?
Well, I don't love to hate anything. I think you're trying to go towards the Steelers, but I'm not a hateful football fan like you Steelers fans are. But I do really enjoy sports in general. I used to love watching the NBA. I'm not as big on it now. I was just a big Kobe Bryant fan. So once all of that stuff went away, I haven't focused on the NBA. But I used to be really big on that. What do you mean when all
that stuff went away? Like, you mean the helicopter crash?
Well, not even that. Like when he retired,
or you're just less interested.
Like when he retired, I was a big Lakers fan when he played, and then he retired, and they brought in LeBron James, and LeBron James is supposed to be Kobe's biggest rival. So I was like, I can't support this team. I can't do that. So I stopped paying attention to the Lakers and basketball as much. But when I was like younger, around when the Ravens first won the Super Bowl, like not the first one, but their second one. Around then, I was like a huge Ravens fan. I love watching them. So I've been like a big, mostly football fan, but I've been a big on basketball and football and sports. That's kind of like probably my biggest side hobby. I'm a pretty avid football fan. Like I never miss a Ravens game. If I do, it'll make me a little sad. But that's a big one is sports, and then just like video games, stuff like that too. I do a lot of that, but.
Yeah. You the way that you're explaining the Ravens is kind of that's how being a Steeler fan was for me, all my life to, up through my 20s. And I've ventured a little bit less into that, but I mean, I remember I would build my weekends around the Steelers. I mean, I remember one time I was at a high school basketball game with my girlfriend. Her dad had paid for me to go in there and watch that basketball game. And I left at halftime because I wanted to see kickoff.
Oh, well, yeah.
And my dad gave me a pretty bad look that day when I walked in. He's like, "You left for this?" I said, "Yeah, I did." That's
what I do. I mean, every time the Ravens play, I make sure that I set that time that side to be like, well, I'm gonna be watching that right now, so I'm not free.
Yeah.
But I'm a very avid Ravens fan.
Do you claim the TV? Because I'll do that. I'll be like for all my kids. My kids want to watch all these cartoons and movies and stuff, and I'm like, listen, Dad wants I only ask for 3 hours a week. You can have the rest of the week. I just want it focused right here.
I try not to claim the TV, but I do. It's mostly like
It's assumed.
it's like I'll walk in and I'll be like, "Hey, you guys gonna use the TV because the Ravens game's on?" But if you guys like need it, I don't have to take it. Really at the end of the day, I'm just saying that. But I actually mean I need this TV right now.
You
The
mean
Ravens
you need
are playing?
it 'cause you walk in all decked out in purple.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you really need to watch whatever you're watching, I don't have to. But and they're like, "No, you can watch the Ravens."
Are your brothers not as big of fans?
No, my other brothers really aren't NFL fans. My one, he mostly just likes to hate on the Steelers because it makes my parents angry, so he doesn't really have a team. But he does watch football. Otherwise, the rest of my brothers aren't really sports fans.
Okay.
And then my parents, they're avid football fans. They love the Steelers too, but they're not as upset now that I'm a Ravens fan as they used to be. But.
So you're a big Kobe fan.
Yes. Yeah.
But not you've never. You said LeBron James. You a big LeBron James fan?
No, I do not like LeBron James.
I don't understand LeBron James, and I mean he's moved around looking for titles, looking for attention, but why? My big question with LeBron James is I feel like his legacy is really important to him, but I also feel like he doesn't know how to build his own legacy. For example, what I mean by that is, like you said, he went to LA, to kind of take Kobe's spot.
Mm-hmm.
And he changed his number to number 23, which is Michael Jordan.
Well, he actually was drafted with the number 23. That's what he used to have.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah.
And then he switched to, what was he for a while?
He was 6 when he went to Miami.
Okay.
And then that's what he stuck with for a while, but he was drafted with the number 23.
Why did they do that when they already knew he was going to be King James?
I don't know.
When he was like 18 years old.
Yeah, I don't know.
When that's such a big... I mean, 23, I'm surprised 23 is not retired in the NBA. Like, why do they even let people have that number?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because to me, I don't know. As soon as I saw him wearing that 23 that one year, I'm like you're just... Like if you want to be the next Michael Jordan, you need to be the first LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble wrapping my mind around why he would want to. I felt like it was kind of like saying, like, I am the next Michael Jordan. But to me, it kind of looks like he's chasing everybody else's legacy.
Yeah, that's why I really looked up to Kobe. Is Kobe never really? He actually would admit that his biggest inspiration was Michael Jordan. He built his entire game off of the way Michael Jordan played. But he was also always pretty understanding that, like, I'm never going to compare it to Michael Jordan. And he would say that in interviews. They would ask him, like, who do you think the best 5 players in the NBA were? And he's obviously one of the 5, but he would never include himself. He was a really humbled player, but he would always his biggest focus was just making sure to win. So, like, there's always stories about he was, like, the first one into the gym that day and the last one to leave. And he was always, like whenever he would play a game, even if they're losing by 30, he wouldn't stop playing hard until like the game was over. That was always what I liked about him. That's kind of like what inspired me when I was really young to start playing sports and like work really hard to them was him.
So you play basketball and soccer, and you're like, I'm going full steam ahead until the clock says 0, no matter what.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and Kobe it probably took some humility on his part to let them bring in Shaquille O'Neal. But then defined.
They fought a lot, though.
They fought a lot. Yeah. But they won championships, too.
Well, that was always the biggest thing, though, is they fought each other and they hated each other, but they would, the moment the game started, they were like, let's play because we're going to win. And that was basically all they ever cared about. So, they never got along, but they won 3 championships together to make up for it. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, well, we always need to remember that the Baltimore Ravens are nothing but the Cleveland Browns in purple. And
they're a little better than the Browns, but
the Browns, yeah. I'm not sure what's happening there, but black and gold is where it's at. So,
I mean, I've seen the records. That's all I need is to know the records.
So if anybody wants to find you online, how do we find those video game YouTubes? Can we?
I haven't done it in 2 years, so I mean it's not really too existent now. But
it's something that you enjoyed doing too.
I do. Yeah, a big part of me has always been focusing on my creativity. So I like to be creative and just make stuff and like make stuff for other people to watch and enjoy. So I used to make pretty avidly. I used to make a lot of YouTube videos. It was mostly like gaming videos, but I do some other stuff. But there's like skits, gaming videos, stuff like that. And for a little period of time, I actually did kind of get some popularity. I had a video that got like 500,000 views. So there was times where I had a little bit of.
Is that over the viral threshold?
I don't think so.
And maybe not in video game land.
No, so I think usually once you hit the millions, but
Okay.
I had a few videos that would get like 500,000, 100,000, couple thousand and stuff like that. And so I started to build a really big following and enjoyed doing that a lot. And then I just stopped doing it. I found other interests. I found other priorities. And then
What was her name? What was her name?
Oh yeah, her name might have been Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Well, that is actually funny enough. That is exactly when I stopped making videos. Is when we became official. I was making a few a little bit before that, but then like around July when we, like that month, it was like 2020. That was the last video I ever uploaded. So,
you found something a little more exciting to spend your time on.
I found her and I got a job, and it just became too difficult to make it, and I didn't enjoy it as much. But yeah, I used to love making YouTube videos. I've always done that. If you need to find it, it's called Mr. Tryhorse, but
Mr.
I don't really.
Tryhorse, T-R-I, Mr. Tryhorse.
Yeah, it's actually a pun on my last name, but
Yeah, I bet it is. Just like triplets. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, if you want to watch some of Joel's old video game YouTubes, Mr. Tryhorse.
yeah, if you want to get good at Super Smash Bros, that's about all I did. I
Awesome.
made Smash Bros videos, but
Do you own a lightsaber?
I don't anymore.
Don't anymore?
I really want to though. I've been looking now that I have an income. It's bad because I've been looking at like custom lightsabers for like $300, and I'm like, I really want to buy one of those, but I shouldn't do that.
You really got to be careful with that. Yeah, and you don't want to let other people know that you have money. I remember when I was in high school, PlayStation 3, I think it was, that came out. It was like $300, and it was we had a 4th of July picnic, and all of my brothers and all of my cousins ganged up on me and said, "You're the only one here that has a job that doesn't have any expenses. You don't even have a car yet. We think you should buy the PlayStation. Grab a couple games, and we'll come hang out with you." And so I fell for that, but we had a lot of fun around that PlayStation. So
Yeah.
well, Joel, I've had a blast talking to you. Thank you for sharing your story, your heart, your love, things that you love, and I think it's really cool what you do and where you work and who you are, and have had a blast talking to you and getting to know you better.
Yeah.
And just look forward to seeing where life takes you, and don't lose touch.
All right.
And
Absolutely.
take good care of your bride.
Will do.
All right, love you, buddy.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
But we stuck it out. Today's our day. Today's our day.